According to that regulation, we should also have a system to detect early problems in national asylum or reception systems and address the root causes before they develop into fully fledged crisis. This, you see, has been voted on in 2013. This did not apply at all. I mean, there was a civil war in Syria, and still they knew that also the Greek asylum system was falling apart. They knew also Italy had its problems. This system of detecting early problems was never put in place. No one ever did anything, even though it was quite clear to see that refugees would arrive in Europe to accommodate for that. And finally, the Eurodac regulation, again it's a regulation, and one very simple conclusion to make is that you see that anything that is rights related is a directive, which means less binding for the state. Anything that is security related, like Dublin and where you should be returned, or Eurodac where your fingerprints and all your data will be put, their regulations, so much more binding, which also shows like which are the priorities in Europe. And it's clear that the priorities is security and borders control. It's not making sure that we are providing for human rights and for the right to asylum in particular. So according to Eurodac, everyone coming will be fingerprinted and will have comparison of the data and also exchange of the data through a huge database all over Europe. Not to start thinking about potential violations of personal data and how are these treated within the system. That's another talk, very important, but another talk. So just to see what is going on, again, to tell you that this is not a European crisis, it's so much localized. People are coming from particular routes, like mostly through Greece, lately, the last 6 months through Italy. And people are refugees, most of them that are coming are refugees. And here I have put the demographics. So since January 1st, 2016, 54% of them are men, and the rest is women and children. And these percentages have been going a bit up and a bit down, but there has been quite a steady trend that quite a lot of women and children are coming. And I have put this one more just to show you a bit what it looks like in Greece, to show you where are these islands of the hotspots of the response of Europe that I will talk more later. So they are all over here. These are these islands. You can see how close they are to Turkey, far from mainland Greece. It is quite easier for smugglers to pass people through there. In many cases in Lesbos, the distance between the island and Turkey is 5 miles. Is nothing. You can see it across.
What is Lesbos?
Which one is Lesbos? Is that one? That one. You see, it's enclaved. Turkey is all around it. So, what did Europe decided to do to respond to this so-called crisis? Mainly, there were mainly two big decisions. The one was to have a hotspot approach. So, what is a hotspot? A hotspot is a place where basically EASO, Frontex, Europol, Eurojust, these are European agencies, will work on the ground with the authorities of the frontline member state to help to fulfill their obligations under EU law and swiftly identify, register and fingerprint incoming migrants. So this decision of having specific places, specific centers, specific detention areas where people have to stay there and not being anywhere else, to me it sounds like detention. And it looks like detention with the pictures I will show you later. And they are located you see these 4 locations are in Italy, and these 5 are in 5 islands that I showed you before. And how did that came through. So throughout, up till the end of the summer of 2015, people were coming. They were in these small islands in Greece, and they couldn't be processed because there was not enough staff, there was not enough of these Eurodac machines to take the fingerprints and send everything in the system. There was not enough Coast Guard, there was not enough police. So what happened is that at some point, because it was impossible to keep these people on that island for longer, there were thousands and thousands, they gave them a paper telling them, you go to Athens and you register there. And of course these people just continued to Europe and never registered. So when in Brussels the European Commission realized that probably not even 1/3 of all of these crossing Greece and going all the way to Europe are registered under these highly securitized systems there, and at the same time there were all these terrorist attacks and all these far-right discourses rising and rising and rising. What they said is that we have to find a way to register everyone. No one can come to Europe and we don't know exactly who they are and we don't register them. So that was the rationale behind putting the hotspots. And the secondary goal, and really secondary also in how it was implemented, was that the hotspot will also contribute to the implementation of the temporary relocation schemes proposed by the European Commission. Because of course when you say that people will arrive and they will be in this hotspot, this detention center, and they cannot be moved from there and we have to register and etc., you have to bring also like, how many will we have there? It's impossible. So some need to be, once they get registered, they need to be moved on, and they cannot all stay in Greece. So the idea was that once they're registered, they will file their cases, and then they will be able to be moved in other European countries. Right now in Greece, we have around 60,000 refugees stranded in Greece, not being able to move. And from November 2015 until end of June 2016, only 1,849 of them were relocated in Europe. And this shows also the priorities. So the first priority, which was to make sure that we fingerprint everyone, we register them and we have them in a hotspot, has been in place fully. The other goal of having relocation schemes would allow legally people to move to the rest of Europe. Out of 60,000, 1,849. Numbers are speaking on their own, I don't even have to comment on them. So the second response was the EU-Turkey agreement that we also started discussing yesterday. And these are the points of the agreement. So everyone arriving in Greece after March 20, 2015 would be returned to Turkey. Of course, there is an asylum application where so far all of them have been rejected, where they see case by case and see whether there is an individual reason why this person should not be returned. And also Turkey will have to prevent new sea or land routes from Turkey towards Greece. And on the other hand, Europe will move with visa liberalization by the end of June 2016. Of course, with Turkey not doing the reforms she has to do for visa liberalization on the one hand, and with the attempt of the coup on the other hand, this hasn't moved. Then there is the money on the table, of course. So Turkey would receive 3 billion and then an additional 3 billion in the end of 2018. In the same agreement, there is the condition of upgrading the customs union between Turkey and Europe, and that the accession process will be re-energized. Now, how we can discuss the accession of Turkey in Europe with what is happening in Turkey, especially since June? I don't know how we can even discuss it. How can that agreement be still in place? But for the sake of keeping the refugees out, I think that shows us also what are Europeans willing to agree upon. Finally, EU and Turkey, that's like always in this type of agreement you have also like a wishful thought. So Europe and Turkey will work to improve humanitarian conditions inside Syria. How or when, we don't know, but it's also in the agreement. And these are some pictures from what happened in Lesbos and what is continuing to happen. So in the beginning, people would just arrive. Hundreds and thousands every day in the shores. There was not even time to get the life jackets and the boats out of the beaches. It was just one boat after the other, and in the beginning there was no one there. No UN system, no Europe, no one. It was just locals who were going and helping people out. And then people had to walk because there was no transportation in the island, and civilians were not allowed to move them from one place to the other, because you were considered to be a smuggler, because these people didn't have legal documents, and you would provide them with transportation, which was illegal. And the reception conditions that we said that they're set down in the European law, and there should be sufficient material conditions, were basically that. People staying in the ports of Mytilene, just in tents, just waiting to move, to be able to get on a ferry and just go to Athens, and from there continue to Europe. So all of the things that they were supposed to happen and they are there on paper did not happen. A bit later, after the end of the summer and after all that was going on for months, UNHCR and other big NGOs arrived, and smaller NGOs and volunteer groups from the island started to organize themselves. This is the northern shore of the island. They did put different camps all across. They organized transportation. They organized the provision of food, healthcare, etc. At least covering these immediate needs of people arriving. There were many camps, as I said, and I saw you, these are pictures from different camps. And this was the main camp that the municipality has set in, as you see, and there was service provision from ActionAid, Save the Children, and all kinds of different actors trying to accommodate to the needs of women, of children, of men, trying to keep separate housing or toilets or showers, etc. for men and women. I think that this period was actually the period where most of the rights and the needs were addressed. And there was waste collection. Just breathtaking to think that each and every one of these life jackets is a person that did cross. It's the amount of the people.